Crixan stared through the viewing port of the diplomatic vessel, his biomechanical body humming softly as he observed the vibrant expanse of Gliese 581G below. From his station high above the planet, he could see massive trade fleets weaving through the tangled webs of commerce, their hulls glimmering with the vast riches of countless worlds. Among them, the Pterach had established their presence, trading in the rarest resources, deeply embedded in their hive-minded society. But there was something that unsettled him Earthlings. Crixan had dealt with countless alien species across the galaxy, each predictable in their own way. But humans were different. The last exchange had introduced a new variable, a creature bound to a human named Lina. It's a feline-like creature, small and docile, yet it emanated an energy that made the Pterach wary. "Crixan, do you see that?" his colleague, Selv, rasped through their collective neural link, drawing attention to the human holding its pet. "What does it do?" The Earthling stood near a holographic interface, the tail of the creature swaying with a rhythmic grace that reminded Crixan of something more, an unraveling mystery. Lina, a diplomat herself, seemed at ease, her left hand cradling the small beast while her right gestured broadly as she conversed with a representative from a trade consortium. "This is not a mere pet," Crixan replied, his voice threaded with a curious tension. "It possesses a subtlety beyond mere biological function. Watch how it purrs. It resonates differently than any species we've encountered." "Purrs? What is its purpose?" Selv inquired. Crixan harnessed his own excitement to dissect this phenomenon. "The sound produces vibrations, possibly to communicate comfort or calmness. Humans project emotions through sound. It is fascinating." "We need to be cautious," Selv warned, a shudder passing through their linked consciousness. "Before determining its value, we must approach the bioengineered humans with respect. Previous interactions have been complicated, especially regarding their protective instincts." Beneath them, the trade zone glowed with brilliant colors. Crixan noted the humans interacting with a variety of alien species, exchanging not only goods but ideas. Yet the Pterach saw a flicker of something deeper. Humans operated not merely on logic but on impulse. They made choices that were unpredictable and often rash. Their emotional depths intrigued and unsettled the Pterach hive. Of perilous pondering, "Let us extract the creature before they uncover its destructive potential," Selv replied, eyes narrowed in concern. Crixan hesitated, remembering that this was not only a transaction but diplomatic leverage. If the Pterach could understand the depths of human emotion, they could pave the way for continued trade relationships. "We will proceed with caution, but let us initiate an assessment." Suddenly the creature let out a series of low purring sounds, vibrating throughout the chamber. Crixan's sensors reacted instinctively. The rhythm was soothing, yet it sent ripples of uncertainty through the attached colonies of their hive mind. Lina turned, her brow furrowed as she caught Crixan's gaze through the viewport. He immediately initiated an interface connection with her. "Lina, an assessment of your creature is required. We seek to understand its purpose and implications." Lina's steady expression faltered, replaced by defensive curiosity. "You mean my cat, Nika?" She raised the creature higher with a hint of protectiveness. The feline's eyes opened wide, observing the Pterach in turn. "A creature with fur and the ability to produce vibrations that promote emotional stability," Crixan explained, his voice interlaced with logic. "Are you aware of its potential value in our negotiations?" Lina's expression shifted again, reflecting a complex mix of emotions. "Nika is not a commodity. She's my companion, my friend." The statement struck Crixan like a forceful wave crashing upon a shore. "Friend?" he queried. The word was foreign to his understanding but painted vivid pictures of loyalty and bond far beyond their hive. "Yes," Lina clarified, eyes flashing with passion. "She's not just a pet, she's family." Crixan recoiled at the notion. "Family?" he pondered as Nika turned, her round eyes locking onto him, a silent dare. The moment hung heavy with resonance. "I do not grasp your definition of family," he replied slowly, "yet we may find value in this relationship should you agree to share your knowledge. Can we interact with Nika?" Lina exchanged glances with the creature, who now positioned itself comfortably against her shoulder. If you think necessary, just be gentle. The duality of fear and intrigue walked hand in hand as Crixan extended a mechanical finger towards the purring creature, calculating the variable that might alter a course of interstellar trade. But as Nika began to nuzzle into his touch, a warm pulse of curiosity emanating from her soft fur, something began to reshape in Crixan's neural pathways. He felt, for the first time, the threads of unpredictability weaving through their diplomatic fabric. Perhaps the Earthlings were not just senders of chaos, but a new potential of emotional intelligence. As the hum of trade thrummed outside, a tiny creature and a tiny human held the threshold between order and disorder, setting off a cascade of unforeseen events yet to unfurl. As the days passed, the atmosphere aboard the Pterach diplomatic vessel thickened with tension. Commander Elias Velasquez paced the command deck, his eyes scanning the shiny holographic interface that outlined their mission parameters. The humans had arrived on the mining colony to initiate trade discussions, but their presence felt more like the prelude to conflict. News from Earth had warned that the Pterach were ruthless traders, willing to sacrifice anything for profit. "What's the status of the delegation?" Lina's voice pulled his thoughts back. She stood next to him, her hands resting protectively on Nika, the small feline-like creature perched in her arms. Elias turned to face her, noting the concern in her eyes. "They're still processing the ship's layouts. Follow on schedule, but they're suspicious of our radar deflection mechanisms. We may need more transparency." "Yes, but keeping our advanced tech secure is a priority," he replied, feeling the weight of responsibility push down on him. It was one thing to share trade routes, but quite another to expose sensitive technology that could be used against them. Nika's tail flicked, a sign that caught Elias off guard. She had become somewhat of a liaison, a surprising mediating force between humans and aliens. Her presence seemed to soften the edges of discussions. Perhaps there was power in this adaptability, he thought. And a small commotion in the corner of the deck drew his attention. Crixan stepped forward, his bioengineered form radiating authority. "Commander, we must address the issue of the energy fluctuations noted in the mining sequence. The reactivity levels of the extracted ore are inconsistent, creating a risk that could jeopardize our negotiations." The simultaneous rise of tension in Elias's shoulders mirrored the unease in the command room. "Crixan, explain the fluctuations." "The energy cores from the mining sites are unstable," Crixan continued. "They now possess strange quantum signatures that are not in line with predicted values. We cannot provide them with something which may risk our alliances." Lina's brow furrowed and she interjected, "But if you're not transparent about the situation, it will likely cause distrust. They'll see it as an attempt to conceal weaknesses." Crixan regarded her with a mixture of curiosity and annoyance. "You suggest revealing our vulnerabilities? They must have their own hidden interests." Elias felt the growing friction between the two, a battle of perspectives, Crixan's strategy against Lina's instinct to build trust. "Let's analyze the last scans and locate the root cause. We may find a way to stable the fluctuations." "Crixan, your insights during previous negotiations have proven valuable. How would you suggest we gather data without revealing too much?" "And deploy the drone analysis unit. It can scan the ore while observing environmental changes. Data will remain secure without implicating your technology." Commander Crixan's mechanical voice maintained its coolness. Elias nodded, considering the implications. It was a clever solution. "Then we proceed with that course of action. But we need to act fast. The Pterach are not known for their patience." As preparations began, unexpected sound blasted through the deck. Alarms blared, announcing a breach in the protective firewalls designed to isolate the docking sections. "What the hell is going on?" Elias snapped, quickly moving to the console. "Comm systems compromised," Crixan reported, his bioluminescent skin switching through alarming shades. "We're losing communication with both ships and the planet's surface." "What do you mean compromised?" Lina shouted, her jaw tightening. "You said the systems were secure." Elias Crixan's bioengineered nature allowed him to compute possibilities faster than any human. "The quantum energy readings may have triggered a hack attempt. They exploit the instability of our trade network for their gain. They've tracked us. Elias felt a cold sweat break across his brow. Get me shields now. Protect the trading vessels. As the crew scrambled, Crixan and Lina joined forces, each bringing skills to the table. I'll initiate a lockdown, Crixan said, focused as he accessed his systems. We have to isolate core functions to disable breaching abilities. I can use Nika, Lina said with unexpected fervor. Somehow, I think she can sense the shifting energy. If I connect her to your system, we might turn this hack against our attackers. The unexpected vibrations could muddle their scans. Elias felt a flicker of hope. Let's try it. Crixan, join forces with me on your internal systems, Elias ordered. We need to overlay Lina's readings with our tactical outputs. Activating the connection now, Crixan moved swiftly, interfacing with the ship's systems, coordinating with Lina, who cradled Nika. As data threads merged, Nika began to vibrate softly, her purring escalating into a rhythmic pattern. Lights danced around the room, reacting unpredictably. The cloaked invasion was detected as an overlapping blanket of noise emerged, obscuring their enemy's transmissions. It's working, Lina shouted, excitement edging her voice. Suddenly, Crixan let out a warning. The data streams indicate an escalation. They're deploying countermeasures. We cannot hold the barrier long without overloading. At that moment, the ship rocked violently. The command deck trembled, alarms blaring again. Elias pulled himself together. Crixan, redirect energy to shields and reroute auxiliary power to the defensive system. On it. However, without external assistance, our stability may fail quickly. Elias looked at Lina, mind racing. We need to get to the surface. Contact the mining colony for retractable power. I can coordinate the signals through Nika. Her energy may help stimulate connections with determination flaring. Lina brought Nika closer to the console as though her small form held the key to survival. Trust me, she whispered to Nika, and the creature began vibrating more intensely, reaching out further as if spanning the divide. The trembling subsided as all systems pulsed for a momentary breath. Signal established, reinforcement incoming, Crixan exclaimed, trying to contain a hint of awe. With that, a surge of energy charged through the ship, aiding their systems and repelling the hacking attempt. The shield flickered bright, blocking attacks from unknown sources. Elias clung to the interface, eyes wide. We have a chance. Prepare the drones for launch. One after another, drones shot from the vessel. They circled the area, shining bright lights onto the sources of interference. For a moment, silence enveloped the command deck, broken only by Nika's soothing growl. Communications restored, Crixan announced. We've acquired the coordinates of attackers. Redirecting defensive systems now. Then let's move, Elias urged, adrenaline surging. We'll confront whoever is behind this. As their ship surged into motion, he felt an unexpected warmth in the collective determination of their team. Crixan, Lina, and Nika stood at the heart of this dynamic relationship, bound together by fate and choice. Together, they would forge a path through the unknown, proving that even amidst complexity, unity and collaboration could prevail against the tides of adversity. Crixan felt the tension in the air as the ship's systems hummed with urgent activity. The Pterach delegation was still lined up before them, their biomechanical forms rigid and watchful, as if the rhythm of their collective consciousness resonated with the unsettling energy of the impending confrontation. Commander Elias, we must act quickly, Crixan urged, his voice cutting through the fray. The attack is a calculated attempt to undermine our position. Our enemies will use the confusion to exploit vulnerabilities in our systems. Elias, a seasoned tactician, nodded with determination. Everyone, listen up. We need to prepare for potential breaches while also routing incoming resources from the mining colony. If we're going to hold our ground, we must ensure our technological integrity. Lina tightened her grip on Nika, feeling the feline's vibrations match her own racing heart. But Crixan, what exactly are we facing? How do we counter an unseen enemy? Her words cut through the haze of urgency, drawing everyone's focus back to the essence of their dilemma. The anxiety swelling in the room was palpable. Their minds were fighting against uncertainty. The quantum signature of the ore seems to be the common factor, Crixan explained. Their ability to block our communications and penetrate our drone network must stem from this. If we can create a targeted release of energy from the mining site, we might destabilize their control. And create a scatter blast that disrupts their systems, Lina asked, her brow furrowing as she mulled it over. Precisely, Crixan affirmed, a sense of eagerness bubbling within his biomechanical form. However, it requires coordinating our tech with the raw resonance of the ore. Doing so will require a harmonic resonance device. Elias turned to his team, who were already accessing various systems to implement the plan. We'll need every available drone and all our mining equipment. We modify it quickly. But can we trust the miners not to expose our plans? Crixan's eyes narrowed. We've no choice. We need their cooperation. If we cannot secure their allegiance, our mission is over before it begins. The crew sprang into action, each person focused on their designated task. As they worked, the ship lurched again, causing sparks to fly across the console. Alarms blared, signaling another overload breach. The red lights illuminated Lina's worried face, but she pressed on, raising her voice over the chaos. Crixan, if we're going to employ Nika's vibrations, how can we integrate her without compromising her safety? Crixan considered it carefully. We can modify our systems to amplify her purring frequencies while she remains isolated within a protective holographic shield. It's critical for her to be close to the energy source to ensure the waves produce the intended destabilization. Elias clenched his fists, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. And if it goes wrong? Nika is ambivalent to this fight. She could be harmed. I will not allow that. Lina stepped forward, determination shining in her features. I appreciate that, but this is how we can save not just ourselves but everyone on the colony. I won't put her in danger without assurance, but we need to trust this plan. With a heavy breath, Elias nodded. We'll do our best to contain the energy blast. But risks must be acknowledged. We're working against hostile forces now. As the hum of renewed activity swept the ship into a frenzy, every moment felt crucial. They gathered the miners, their tension palpable as they detailed their plan, carefully avoiding any panic that could jeopardize future cooperation. Just as they finished the meeting, another explosion rocked the ship, sending everyone sprawling. Crixan recovered first, scanning the area. Breaches detected in multiple sectors. They're attempting to infiltrate our primary core. Elias rushed back to the command console, fingers flying over the controls. Divert defensive drones to compromised sections. They must form a protective barrier. Crixan spoke laser-focused. We only have 30 seconds to finish our modifications. We'll need to maintain our energy levels while converging the power drain towards the mining site. We won't have time to recalibrate everything, Lina admitted, her voice laced with urgency. We'll have to operate on a less than optimal setup and keep the field stable as we initiate Nika's amplification. Elias glanced at the red indicators flashing on the screen. Do we have a backup energy source? Crixan nodded. The reserves are functional but minimal. We can make do, but it may not be sufficient in dispersing a powerful wave. He began working at a thrumming pace, linking circuits and rerouting energy flow seamlessly into the protective functions surrounding Nika. The feline instinctively purred, attuned to the energies flowing through the ship, creating a synergy between the living creature and the complexities of technology. Conditions are set. Now, activate the generators, Crixan commanded as the pieces fell into place. Elias drew a deep breath, preparing to execute their only chance. Doing it now. The ship trembled in response. Systems roared to life, and a dull thrum resonated through the floor as Nika's purring intensified, vibrating more deeply, her small frame glimmering with energy. Alarms blared with gusts of colors flashing as defensive systems kicked in. The wall began to ripple as Nika's energy projected a palpable shield, enveloping her while deflecting incoming signals from the enemy hacking attempts. "Here they come," Elias shouted, the tension now palpable. He could feel the impending dread of potential failure like a weight on his chest. "Hold steady, everyone. Prepare for deployment." Before he could finish, a new wave of alarms erupted. The command deck's status turned critical. They were under heavy fire. The hull began to warp and groan, metal straining against the pressure of the assault. "Nika, hold on," Lina shouted, stepping closer to ensure the feline remained safe within the energy field. The vibrations intensified, resonating throughout the ship and harmonizing with the chaotic energies blocking their scanners. "Now," Crixan shouted, pulling the controls together, crafting the final paths of energy into a concentrated stream. "Release the charge. Engage the amplification frequencies." "What if it backfires?" Elias yelled. "Trust the process," was all Crixan had time to say. In that breath, energy roared from every conduit, igniting a deep blaze that illuminated the entire deck. Nika's purring reached a crescendo, intertwining with the ship's systems as the sound rolled outward, a physical wave coursing through the hull. Suddenly a bright flash erupted, followed by a resonant boom that shook the very core of the ship. A shockwave expanded outward, enveloping both their ship and the rogue attackers' vessels. The pulsations disrupted everything, scrambling signals and tearing through systems like an unseen storm. Elias braced against the console, feeling the air crackle with energy. Did it work? In the aftermath, the alarms faded to a low whirring, and an unnatural calm filled the room. All eyes were glued to the monitoring screens as they processed the results. Reading fluctuations in their systems, Crixan exclaimed, eyes widening in disbelief. "They've collapsed under the chaos. Their control is broken." Lina released a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "We did it. Now we must move." Elias rallied his team. "The delay has cost us precious time. Grab any data and prepare for the final approach." But they weren't done yet. As the waves from Nika's vibrations settled, a new array of visuals flickered onto the screens, revealing their enemies attempting to regroup. "Their network is weak, but they're not done fighting," Crixan warned. "Prepare for a counteroffensive." Elias nodded, adrenaline coursing. "Then we finish this." Lina and Crixan exchanged resolute glances, feeling the combined surge of human and Pterach connection. They knew the stakes were high, but they also understood that true strength wasn't just about technology, it was about unity forged through trust, even in the direst of moments. "Let's end this," Elias roared, and they surged forth into the ensuing chaos, ready to confront whatever awaited them. Crixan felt the tension in the command deck ease as the shockwave rippled outward, disrupting the enemy's systems. Elias, breathless and focused, barked orders while scanning the monitors. The rogue attackers, shrouded in darkness, were struggling to regain control. Their ships were limping, signals flickering like fireflies caught in a storm. "Continue monitoring their systems," Elias commanded, avoiding the urge to celebrate too soon. "Crixan, can we capture any data from their ships?" "Affirmative," Crixan replied. "If we can reroute energy to our sensors, we can attempt to penetrate their defenses while they're disoriented." As they executed the plan, Lina glanced down towards Nika, who was nestled safely in her arms. The cat had calmed during the chaos, and Lina took comfort in the weight of her furry friend. "Nika, you did it," she whispered, brushing a hand against Nika's soft fur. "You helped us stay connected." Nika responded with a gentle purr, reflecting the renewed energy in the room. The ship glimmered with soft lights now, following the harmonies of its crew working in concert. Together they had achieved something that felt monumental. "Drones in position," Crixan exclaimed, pulling his attention back to the controls. "We're ready to go." "Launch them," Elias ordered, heart pounding. The screen shifted to reveal their fleet of autonomous drones flaring to life and extending outward through the dark void, seeking out their assailants. In the depths of space, the drones began a synchronized assault, counteracting the enemy's attempts to retaliate. Lina had never seen technology work so fluidly, a testament to the trust they had built with the Pterach over the past days. This alliance was forming with purpose, and it felt strong enough to withstand the currents of space and time. "Commander, we've intercepted critical data," Crixan said. "This information reveals they were attempting to take control of our mining networks. They sought to access your technological advances." Elias clenched his fists. "So they're building those waves to manipulate our systems for their benefit. This isn't the last we'll hear from them." "Then we must counteract their influence in the most effective way," Crixan stated, his voice steady. "We can incorporate alerts on our systems to avoid such compromises in the future." "Yes," Elias agreed, "but first, let's make sure they can't come back at us. Crixan, extract all relevant data while we maintain a defense pivot." As the drones launched strike after strike, damaging the remaining ships, an unexpected connection began to form between the alien and human crew members. They were no longer two distinct entities but collaborators working in sync. Within minutes, the enemy vessels were rendered incapacitated, flickering under the barrage from the drones. Lina, adrenaline pumping, looked around at her crewmates. "We did it. We're holding our own." "Yes, and that's only the beginning," Elias said, a wide grin spreading across his face. "We're more than just allies now. We have something to fight for." With the immediate threat neutralized, the crew focused on capturing data from the disabled ships. Within moments, a stream of information began pouring in, revealing details that elucidated the enemy's motives. Crixan's eyes glowed as he analyzed the incoming feed. They were a mining syndicate planning to undermine U.S. entirely, a preemptive strike, so they could seize authority over our operations. They believed we were weak, that our alliances were mere fronts. "Clearly they underestimated us," Lina remarked, her voice filled with determination. "And now we need to show them the truth. This could lead to a massive change in how we conduct our trades." Days later, aboard the ship, the crew gathered for a meeting. The atmosphere was electric, filled with a sense of triumph and purpose. As they reviewed the data, it became apparent that they had stumbled upon more than just an offensive plan. They had uncovered insights into the syndicate's operations that could shift future dynamics entirely. "Crixan, can we use this data to strengthen our defenses?" Elias asked, weaving in the hope of their newfound alliance. "Yes," Crixan replied, his analytical mind working at lightning speed. "We can build an advanced neural network, blending human ingenuity and Pterach technology to create predictive algorithms based on their movements. With this, we will not only defend ourselves but become formidable in trade negotiations." "And we could reverse engineer their technology," Lina added, excitement buzzing in her words. "If we demonstrate our strength, we can send a message to the rest of the galaxy." Elias nodded, feeling the gravity of their next steps. "Then we need to approach the Pterach Council. This alliance can forge a new future, one built on trust and shared technological innovations." As they transitioned from manual to advanced, intertwining their systems through collaboration, everything began to shift. The growth of their relationship echoed through the ship. They not only developed technology but also nurtured a bond. Weeks passed, filled with non-stop integration of systems and strategic planning. Nika became a staple in the labs, her calm demeanor contrasting the frenzied rush of new developments. She had evolved from a mere pet to a symbol of their unity. "Lina, you seem to have a special rapport with that creature," Crixan commented one day, observing the way Nika responded to her commands. "It's fascinating." "Isn't it?" Lina replied, smiling down at Nika, who let out a soft purring sound. "She brings a sense of balance to everything. I think she helps us remember what's truly important." Connection. "Indeed," Crixan agreed, contemplating the deeper implications. "Our species often overlook the power of emotional ties in favor of logic. Perhaps we too can learn from this bond you have." As they worked tirelessly to implement their plans, they realized that their collaboration wasn't just about technology but about cultural exchange. They would initiate programs for both Pterach and humans to learn from one another, sharing nuances that could further strengthen their partnership. Eventually, the decisive day of the council meeting arrived. The chamber buzzed with tension, an assembly of Pterach leaders forming a tense collective, their soft chittering filling the air. Elias stepped forward, flanked by Crixan and Lina, each prepared to present their findings and unify their vision. Honorables, today we stand before you not as mere factions but as partners forged in the fires of adversity. Elias began, his voice steady. Together we uncovered an imminent threat seeking to undermine our future. He continued to elaborate on the enemy's tactics, outlining how collaborative efforts had paved the way for innovative countermeasures. The atmosphere shifted from skepticism to intrigue as data displayed on holoscreens illuminated their joint ventures. The time is now to embrace an unyielding alliance, Crixan interjected, to redefine our standing in the galaxy, to learn from each other, to build a future based on respect, trust, and shared technology. Lina stepped forward, her voice strong yet filled with emotion. We've experienced transformation. Just as I have learned from Nika how companionship can create resilience, together we can navigate the cosmos hand in hand. As their words echoed through the chamber, ripples of understanding illuminated the room. Cracks of mistrust began to dissipate, leaving behind the promise of something greater. After deliberation, the Council made a historic decision, formally establishing the Pterach Human Coalition. It paved the way for collaborative technological research, proactive defenses against outside threats, and cultural exchanges that would enable generations to come. As the council session closed, Elias felt a wave of relief washing over him. They had collectively transformed their circumstances, turning fear and doubt into opportunities for growth. The true victory wasn't just defeating the enemy, it was ensuring a brighter future for both their worlds. Walking through the halls with Crixan and Lina, he felt an unspoken bond had now solidified. Technology may have been the catalyst, but it was their emotional connections, experiences, and shared goals that would shape what lay ahead. Elias, Crixan said, a newfound warmth in his voice, our alliance holds great potential. I look forward to future negotiations. Elias smiled. As do I, my friend. Nika purred beside Lina, a comforting presence symbolizing the journey they had all taken. Together they would face whatever challenges the universe tossed at them, united in empathy and resilience. The stars above held infinite possibilities, and they, at last, were ready to explore them, a coalition forged through experience, commitment, and the shared understanding that growth often comes from the smallest of connections.